Thank you, host. Okay. Um, Yesterday we were talking about we did some reading skill and writing comprehension. And today we are going to talk about food chains. Okay, food chains. Before we go into article, I would like you to watch the video about the food chains.
No matter where on earth you go, living things are connected to each other. From the tiniest of organisms to the largest of creatures, all living things need energy to survive. So where does that energy come from? Well, matter and energy passes from one organism to another, connecting living things like links in a chain. A food chain. Of course, a food chain is not an actual chain. It's a way to talk about the relationships between organisms and show how matter and energy flow between living things. Every living thing on Earth is part of a food chain, including you, and most things are part of more than one. All of the energy in Earth's food chains comes from the sun. The sun's energy reaches the Earth as light and heat, and plants capture some of it and convert it into food through photosynthesis. Because plants make or produce their own food from the sun's energy, they are called producers. Every food chain must begin with a producer. For example, grass. That's because animals cannot create their own food. They must eat or consume energy from other sources. That's why animals are called consumers. The second link in a food chain is a consumer that eats plants, an herbivore. When an animal eats plants, some of the energy the plant captured from the sun is transferred into the animal's body, where it is used for things like moving, breathing, and growing. An herbivore is called a primary consumer. Primary means first, because an animal eating plants is the first consumer in the food chain. Let's add a rabbit to our food chain. Next comes a secondary consumer, the second consumer in the food chain. This consumer is a carnivore and gets their energy by eating other animals. Maybe our rabbit will get eaten by a fox. When the fox eats the rabbit, part of the energy that the rabbit got from the grass is transferred to the fox. This is the end of this simple food chain. The rabbit eats the grass, then the fox eats the rabbit. The energy that came from the sun is captured by the grass, transferred to the rabbit, and then transferred to the fox. Some food chains are longer than this one, but there can't be too many links in a food chain. Each animal in the food chain uses up a lot of the energy from the previous level instead of passing it on, meaning that only about 10% of the energy consumed by an animal will be passed on to the next level. Let's take a look at a longer food chain that also begins with grass. This time, let's make our primary consumer a grasshopper. The grasshopper eats the grass and then gets eaten by a secondary consumer, a bluebird. Then the bluebird gets eaten by a tertiary or third level consumer, a snake. The snake is eaten in turn by an owl. The owl is the apex predator in this food chain. Apex predators are not hunted and eaten by any animals. We say that they are at the top of the food chain. You probably recognize a lot of apex predators like lions, sharks, eagles, and crocodiles. Just because they don't get eaten doesn't mean that they don't contribute to the food chain, however. When an animal dies, their body is broken down by decomposers. Decomposers are usually bacteria and fungi that break down dead plants and animals into nutrients in soil, that in turn help the plants at the beginning of the food chain to grow. It's the circle of life. Natural ecosystems usually have more complicated food chains, however. A network of interconnected food chains is called a food web.
This one called food web.
The arrows are used to show which direction the energy flows and help keep track of the connections between organisms. Now that you understand a little bit more about food chains, see if you can find the connections between living things around you.
Okay. I believe that you probably have learned about the food chains in science before, right? So basically, food chains, it's like a transfer of the energy from producer to animals and from animals to another animals. And you have seen the a lot of vocabularies like producer and other stuff. So now let's take out your class book. So class book and turn to page. Oh, 1 sec. And turn to page 62. Okay, page 62. Look at the picture, look at that page. Now I would
Class
like,
book on page 62.
yes, class book page 62. Sec. So I would like you to look, listen, and then repeat after.
Listening 2.53. Look, listen, and repeat. Producers,
Producers, can you say that?
Producer.
Page 62. Page 62. Okay, let's start it one more time.
listening 2.53. Look, listen, and repeat. Producers,
Producers.
consumers,
Consumer.
herbivores,
Herbivore.
omnivores, carnivores,
Carnivores.
Good. Okay. Now look at the article. Let's listen and then read and then answer.
listening 2.54. Listen, read, and answer.
Producers. Plants get energy from the sun. They use this energy to grow and to make food for some animals. We call plants producers because they produce food. Consumers. Animals get energy from their food. They eat plants or other animals. We call them consumers because they consume food. Herbivores only eat plants. Omnivores eat plants and animals. Carnivores only eat animals. Are you a herbivore, an omnivore, or a carnivore?
What are we? Herbivore, omnivore? Yeah, we are omnivores, right? We eat both plants and animals.
Food chains. These are food chains. They show what animals eat. A deer eats grass, and then a lion eats the deer. The arrows show how energy moves from one living thing to another. The grass gives energy to the deer, and then the deer gives energy to the lion. All food chains start with a producer. What are the producers in these food chains?
Right, do you understand? All the food chains start with a producer. What are the producer in these food chains?
Grass.
Grass?
Glass. Maize.
Yes, and maize. Okay. Maize is some kind of corn, but it's not for human. It's only for animals to eat.
Decomposers. Flies, worms, and ants eat dead plants and animals. They are called decomposers. They can eat everything in the food chain.
Sorry.
Some animals eat decomposers too. Food webs. We can join food chains together to make a food web. The food web on the next page shows some food chains in a wood.
Right. So this one is called food chains, right? Only one line. So the next page, this this one is called food web. You also see it in the video, right? Food web. It's a lot more complicated than a food chain. Okay, and decomposer, you know that, right? It's a circle of life. When you die, you perish away. Those will help your body or, other dead things like leaves and trees that die. It would just eat up our dead body and, just to decompose away. And if there's no decomposer, I think it would be very tragic. I mean, the world full of dead body, right? There's a lot of waste and the remain of dead organism will pile up in our world. And I have no idea how we're gonna get rid of that. Okay, so let's move on to the next page, lesson 10. Here, read the text on page 62 and then write true or false.
In activity book.
No, this is in the class book, page 63. Sorry, page 63.
I'm finished.
Okay, 1 second, just wait for your friends.
I'm not finished.
Right, I'll wait for you.
I'm finished.
Who finished?
Yes.
You all finished? 1 sec, 1 sec.
Yes. Finished.
Okay. Number 1, plants get energy from the sun, true or false?
True.
True, right. Food gives animals energy, true or false?
True.
True. Carnivores eat plants.
False.
Right, what do carnivores eat?
Eat plants. False.
They carnivores eat meat, right? Number 4, herbivores don't eat other animals.
True.
True. Right. It is true because herbivores eat plants, right? Number 5, omnivores eat other animals.
False. False.
It is true because omnivores eat both animals and plants, right? Sometimes they eat other animals as well. All food chains start with a consumer.
True.
False. False. All food chains start with
Producer.
yes, producer. Number 7, snakes get energy from hooks.
False. False.
False. It's the other way around, right? Hawk's supposed to get the energy from the snake because hawks eat snakes. So that is why the energy only transfer what? From the video, only 10%, right? Number 8, decomposers eat dead plants and animals.
True.
True. Okay. Do you have any question regarding this exercise today?
No.
No? So I think most of you still confusing about the article. So I suggest you to go back and read these food chains one more time. And tomorrow I would like to come back to it and start doing the exercise in the activity book for tomorrow. Okay, today I'm gonna go slow because I think this article is quite long and has a lot of difficult words for most of you guys. So, and I'm gonna put this in the unit test too. So I would like to go super slow for you guys to understand and be able to do the test later, okay? All right. Do you have any questions for about food chains? Do you understand the video?
Yes.
Yeah, you got the video, right? Well, if you have no questions on this, I will let you go and I will see you tomorrow. Okay. All right. I'll see you next class, guys. Bye.
Thank you, teacher Jenny.
Thank you,
teacher.
Thank you, teacher.